By the way,
I don't know what you're upset about. It's your view, dude. It's your view. Like, that's your view.
No, it's
why
not.
you just need to own your view, dude.
That's not my view.
It is your view.
No,
your
it's
view
not.
is that you would rather have your chick certified pre, because otherwise she might be missing out, Oliver.
It's not missing out. I don't want someone who is in a vastly different life experience area than I am. I don't want someone
So
who is
she loves philosophy, but she's a virgin, Oliver.
Okay.
Tara, this is...
Time out. It wouldn't... Andrew, you are assuming all else is equal. I am not 100% opposed to dating someone like that. But I'm saying that if that person has had sexual experiences, like I've had sexual experiences, then we're more on the same level. And that's what I want.
Well, here's the thing that I reject, right?
Okay.
So I don't think, for instance, that if a man, right, like let's say he's had 100 women and then settles down with a virgin, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that actually be comparatively like awesome? Because that would assure that he's better at sex from your view?
What?
Yeah, like if he had sex with a lot of women, he's probably better than if he had sex with only one woman, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if that's the case, if he pounds a virgin, right, then you can assure that she's not really missing out on the experience because he's probably really good, right?
No.
So really, from your view, men should have sex with like 100 fucking women and then get a virgin because then all the experience is packaged into one.
You're assuming one. The point was she knows what she likes, not that he's really good at sex.
Don't you think that she's going to like a man who's really good at sex?
Women are all different. Okay, they don't all have the same sexual desires.
Yeah, but they're gonna definitely want a man who's good at sex.
Sure. I would not want to date someone who was not in the same life experience as me. And maybe that's because when I think of people, Andrew, who are virgins, I think of people who are much younger than me.
Why?
Because I don't look. This is like feels like the same argument of people who are like,
what's wrong with dating someone much younger than you anyway?
Okay.
Honestly, what's wrong with dating? If you date an 18-year-old, what's the problem?
Date an 18-year-old?
Yeah.
At a different stage of life.
So?
What do you mean?
Why do you have to be at the same stage of life to date someone? That's stupid.
Because I think you should want to date someone who's on your level.
Yeah, but people fall in love, have massively dissimilar interests, different IQs, different everything, and absolutely love each other. What's the fucking problem with that?
I don't think there's a problem with it when you get a lot older, but I do think like men of your age dating women who are like in their late teens, even if it's legal, is weird.
Why is it weird? That's quite the argument. It's weird.
Hold on.
Weird.
Are you arguing that there is nothing problematic whatsoever at all with, how old are you, like 50?
Well, no, I'm younger than you, probably. How old are you?
I'm 21. 22, sorry.
Oh, okay. That accounts for the stupidity. No.
Andrew.
I'm 41.
Nice.
41.
41. Do you think nothing wrong with you if you wanted to go by UC Santa Barbara right now and,
What would be wrong with me dating an 18-year-old woman who wanted to date me? Why would that be problematic?
Strange.
Why? What's strange about it?
Because you are in different life experiences than she is. She is vastly...
Do you think 41-year-old women are going to be... Like, let's say I wanted children. Don't you think I should date younger if I wanted to have a lot of children?
Date an 18-year-old to have children?
Well, you're going to be able to give me the most amount of children, right?
Okay.
Can you tell me what's wrong with that, Oliver?
Yes.
What?
Because you're taking advantage of someone.
Oh, taking advantage.
Yes.
So let me get this right.
No, to someone who's much
you
younger
agree
than
that
you?
I have tons more resources than the average 18-year-old woman?
Correct.
Huge amounts more resources.
Correct. The power differential.
And if it is the case
different.
that woman gets all the beneficiary of all of those resources, right? Plus the added benefit that if she stayed with me, let's say, for like 25 years, it is true that I could die much earlier than her, and she would be set with massive amount of resources, and our children would have way more resources than the average 18-year-old couple's children.
I think it's weird that it's a 41-year-old.
Can you answer my fucking question, Oliver? Answer to my argument. Isn't it the case that if I'm 41, I have more resources she benefits from?
Sure.
Isn't it the case that if I'm 41, she's 18, the chances that our children are going to have more resources than if she had children with another 18-year-old, our children are likely going to have way more resources, right, Oliver?
I think having a differential like that is going to introduce a lot of other problems.
Can you answer the fucking question, Oliver?
I don't know, Andrew.
You don't know?
No.
You don't know if the average 41-year-old it has children with 18-year-old, that 18-year-old's going to have more resources for their children than with the average 18-year-old, Oliver?
I think she's going to be traumatized as fuck.
Can you answer the fucking question, Oliver? I'm not interested in like your emotional state.
You're also not interested in the emotional state of 18-year-olds if you want to date them. That's
answer the question. What if their emotional state is they love it?
No.
No?
You should not date someone
Are
that
you
young.
going to answer my question? Would the average 18-year-old woman who had children with a man who was 41, would those children have more or less resources, probably on average?
Do you think the resources...
Answer the fucking question.
Sure, in terms of pure monetary
you.
thing. But that tells
Good
us
Lord.
nothing, Andrew.
Why does
that
this
tells
woman...
us nothing.
So this woman can vote,
Sure.
but she can't choose her partner?
Can and should are different things.
Should 18-year-olds vote?
Yes, Andrew.
But they shouldn't be able to choose their partners?
They can choose their partners. Just because someone makes a choice and can make a choice doesn't mean that you should make that choice.
So for a
and take
society,
advantage
so let
of
me get
them.
this right. For a societal prescription, do you think that 18-year-olds should be able to nullify a 41-year-old's vote?
Yes.
Okay, wait a second. That's really weird. Why should an 18-year-old who you claim is at a different stage of life and doesn't know as much as a 41-year-old and can't compete with that 41-year-old's power dynamics because they're so much more intelligent, should be able
Not
to nullify his
intelligent.
vote?
No, not
Why should they be able to
different.
nullify that person's vote, Oliver?
Everyone should have a vote. And I'm not going to argue about you with women
Answer
having
the
the right to
fucking
vote.
question.
I will answer it, and I'm telling you I'm not going any further on this.
I'm going further on
Okay,
this.
well then I'm not going to
I'm not giving you a choice, Oliver. You don't
Okay.
get to run, Oliver.
No, I'm not.
I don't care what you want,
I'm not gonna
Oliver. It's a
justify-
debate, Oliver.
I'm not going to justify why women have the right
I don't
to vote.
give a fuck. I
Okay?
want to know,
Fine.
Oliver, why should they be able to nullify the vote of a man?
Because it's not nullifying. They are both.
If they vote against me, you nullify my vote.
They are okay, and everyone nullifies other people's votes all the time.
No, they
you are
don't.
What you are?
No, they don't.
What you are voting? Yes, if I vote
No, they
against you,
don't.
I nullify
If
your
40
vote.
million people vote for Trump with me, are they nullifying my vote?
Oh my God, there are always people who will nullify your vote.
That's
That
not
doesn't
everybody
mean-
nullifies everyone's vote, Oliver.
Okay, I'm sorry that you took that statement.
So
as literally
40
as you
million,
did.
if 40 million people vote with me, are they nullifying my vote or enhancing my political
Andrew,
power?
Yeah, okay, sure. Okay, congrats, you won the language game.
Okay,
I'm talking
so now
about,
back to this.
Okay,
Yeah.
everyone is governed under the system of laws, and everyone is affected by our system of governance. Thus, everyone should be represented politically in our government and have their voice heard.
They would still be represented the same way a 16-year-old is.
$69.
Wait,
What do you mean?
Articulate
One
an
sec,
actual
guys.
Adults.
argument against age gaps.
Oh, they're adults, but they can't pick a
Oliver.
partner.
Not that it's weird or IT gives you the ICK.
Sorry, did we? I'll let the I'll let the first part kind of. Okay, just let the beginning part.
Zig Octavius donated $69. Articulate an actual argument against age gaps, soy boy Oliver.
Yeah,
Not
do
that
it.
it's weird or IT gives you the ICK.
I think
I don't want to hear about
think
the
it's-
fucking ick. I want to hear an argument.
I think it's really weird that you want to have sex with 18-year-olds
Why?
because that's really fucking weird.
Why would that be? That doesn't mean anything.
Power
I think it's
differentials,
really
Andrew.
fucking weird that you endorse homosexuality.
Okay,
That's
sure.
fucking
That's fine.
weird.
That's fine.
Can you
Fine.
tell me? Can you give me an
Fine.
argument
I think-
for why it's problematic or
What?
immoral? Can you do it or not,
just
Oliver?
did it, Andrew.
What is it?
They are in a very different stage of life than you.
That why should they be able to vote against me?
Because people are always in different stages of life and they're voting differently. What do you? I don't. How
People
does
are
this
always in
follow?
different stages of
How
life
does it
and they're
follow?
dating
Should
each
someone
other.
be able to spend money differently than you?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
My argument is that that's fine.
Okay.
Your argument is
hold
that's
on.
ick.
I'm confused. Then you're saying because like an 18-year-old can buy something at a restaurant and you can also buy something at a restaurant that therefore both of you are in the same stage of life and can date each other.
Well, first of all, I would argue that men and the way that they psychologically have relationships with women is different than how women psychologically have relationships with men. That's one. The second is that if this woman is 18 years old, she's an adult by your metric and my metric, but somehow she's barred from dating a man who would
Not
give
barred. Not barred. It's a bad idea.
her... Why is it a bad idea?
I just explained it because you are in very different life stages. I've said this multiple times.
And do you think you have
Because
data to back that up?
Power differentials.
Yeah. Do you think you have data to back that up?
Data for what?
That age gap relationships are problematic?
Sure.
You have data?
I don't have the data off the top of my head right now.
I can
but
give
would
you
be
the most
shocked.
comprehensive...
I would be shocked.
Yeah, here's
if
it
there
is.
wasn't. Okay,
I'll give you
go
the
for
data.
it.
The most comprehensive study ever done on this was done in the UK. And they took all marriages which have ever happened inside of the United Kingdom for the last 100 years and did a comparison by decade, by decade, by decade. And you know what they found out? They found out that there was no more likelihood or less the likelihood of divorce right? And that the satisfaction rates were higher.
Okay. Well, divorce is interesting because if someone is entirely financially dependent on the other person, which I think is largely the case, it would be if you are 41 and dating someone who's 18,
Yeah.
it might be a little difficult for them to leave
What's wrong
that
with
marriage.
being financially dependent on your husband?
I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong.
So
I'm
what's
saying
the
it's
problem?
harder for them to. You're pointing to a lack of divorce.
No, it's super
rates.
easy for women
You're
to
pointing-
leave. They
you're pointing-
have years to plan for it.
Hold-
Do you think
what?
they're getting divorced at 18?
I'm not saying they're getting divorced.
What are you
at
talking
18.
about
I
then?
also don't think they should be marrying someone who's 41 at 18.
Should they be marrying an 18-year-old at 18?
They should be marrying anyone at 18.
So you don't think that women should get married at 18?
At 18, probably not. I think that's probably too early for most people.
19?
20s probably. There's no universal for every
So then
single
a
person.
20-year-old with a
There's no
41-year-old, that's okay?
There's Andrew, I'm not. Just because I can't draw a specific line, we've done this before, doesn't mean that a line doesn't exist somewhere.
I just wanna
Can I
know-
just keep walking you back? Like, how crazy can we get? Let's put the law aside. Let's say you could. I mean, technically, the age of consent in some states is like 16 or 14.
Not the
would there be-
marriageable age.
Well, sure, not marriageable. But then, do you think it would be wrong for someone to have sex of your age with someone who's 16 or 14?
Of course.
Wrong?
Yeah, and I can give you the demonstrable reasons why.
Okay.
One, I would base it on faith, right? So I would utilize Christian ethics and say that that was wrong, and here's why. If you look at reproduction in women, guess when finally their reproductive tract is the most developed that it's ever going to get for the rest of their life? Can you imagine? What age would you think that was?
You tell me, Andrew. I'm sure it's super young, which is going
It's
to
18.
justify. Yeah.
18 is when their reproductive when their reproductive body is at its zenith, right? Meaning
I've heard people say 16. I've heard this argument used for 16 as well.
it is true that but they have way more health complications. But they're better than a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old, I guess. But at 18 and above, there's no greater health complications, which happen in childbirth, than if they're 20, 21, 22, 23.
Okay.
At 17 there is, 16 there is, 15 there is, because of the developmental stages of the woman. That's
well, there could be-
one.
there
Hang
could
on,
be
that's one.
exceptions,
That's
though.
the utilitarian argument.
There could be exceptions,
The
though, right?
second is the Christian ethics argument.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I can keep going. There's actually really good reason to set the precedent at 18 years old instead of 16 or 15. And I'm glad that you, like most leftists, bring this up. You try to reduce it down, but there's actually really great reasons from both sides why we would want 18 to be the age. And on top of that, let me just point this out. If they're allowed to vote, they can join the military, right? They can do all of these fucking various things. They can sign contracts. But you say that they can't date somebody who's 40 or 41. Hang on.
Can't
Hang
is
on.
different
You
than
say
should.
shouldn't.
Can't.
You say shouldn't.
Shouldn't.
But what are the negative outcomes?